Adam Schefter working the Antonio Brown story for ESPN, and there's a lot to work through here, Adam. Let's start with how the Bucs and Brown and Brady get together when most of the conversation appeared that he was going to be with the Seahawks.
Well, it's a situation, John, where basically Antonio Brown was eligible to be reinstated after Week 8. And so teams were doing their due diligence, including the Seattle Seahawks, including the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And in recent days, the Buccaneers got seriously involved with Antonio Brown, and I believe that Tom Brady drove that largely. Tom Brady remembered playing with Antonio Brown for that brief period in New England last year, wanted to play with him again, and even though there were people in Tampa who at one point thought Antonio Brown wouldn't wind up there, and said as much basically publicly, the tone changed. And it changed because this team is 4-2, because we're almost halfway through the season, because Tom Brady wants them, because they've had some injuries at the wide receiver position, and they thought that it was worth rolling the dice on Antonio Brown right now.
This is not the first time circumstances have changed in the NFL, where a guy before didn't look like he was destined for someplace, he shows up there. You touched on this a little bit with Tom pushing for it and maybe some injuries and the record at 4-2. But what do you suppose changed with Arians? Because at some point, he's still a boss and is going to have to put him out there.
Well, John, let's keep in mind that was almost 2 years ago. And 2 years is an eternity in the NFL. And last year, they went through the season they did with Jameis Winston. And this year, with Tom Brady playing quarterback, they have a chance to make a real playoff push. And I think when you've got that opportunity and you've got those injuries and you've got the quarterback wanting the player, I think that tells you a lot. And if you look at this and break it down, think about it this way. You had Russell Wilson and Geno Smith, the two quarterbacks in Seattle, pushing for Antonio Brown to wind up as a Seahawk. You had Tom Brady in Tampa pushing for Antonio Brown to wind up as a Buccaneer. When you've got the backing and the support of the most powerful players in those organizations, that gives you a real chance to change some minds the way that Bruce Arians once thought, and to make it such that now Brown has a one-year agreement with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, certainly strong guys and probably control that locker room and to some extent probably make sure that Brown does what is supposed to be done there. Finally, just some last things, or what else is there for him to do before he gets out on the field?
Well, he's going to have to pass through the COVID protocols. They're going to have to go over the language in the contract. So all of these things still need to be done and addressed. But it's no accident, John, that it's getting done now in Week 7. Because that will give Antonio Brown 5 days to pass through the COVID protocols. And assuming he passes through those protocols, that will put him on track to be able to practice with the Buccaneers and to potentially play in Week 9 against the New Orleans Saints. Think about that. Tom Brady, Antonio Brown, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the New Orleans Saints. Hard to imagine that scenario, but that's the scenario that we are now staring straight at unfolding in Week 9. Antonio Brown back in the NFL at that point in time.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.